Now, Samir Singh, the executive director at Hindustan Unilever, who was previously the global brand head for Lifebuoy, took over the personal care business in India about 6 months ago. Singh seems extremely excited about the category's potential, given that even today it accounts for half the company's profit and over 30% of its revenue. I caught up with Singh, who's been tagged as an A-lister in the lever system, to chat about the growth of personal care in levers and as a category, the company's challenges and opportunities currently, and how he sees this segment evolve over the next few years. Listen in. It's been close to 6 months or so since you've taken on the whole personal products portfolio at Levers.
Yes.
Tell me, when you joined and took fort in October 2014, what is it that you saw in the whole personal care or personal product space, in terms of your analysis?
For me, my biggest vision, like I was telling you earlier, is to be the Wikipedia of beauty in India.
Right.
So everything, the new trends that they come, we are the first ones to pioneer it.
Sure.
And I think that then becomes a big source of competitive advantage. I think the way the market is evolving, or the way the consumer is evolving, for example, a lot of the interactions that happen, even in a country like India, around personal care and beauty are on digital.
Okay.
So one of the biggest thrusts that we are making, and there are various kinds. So when I talk about this Wikipedia project, it's actually about saying whenever a consumer has a problem or a query or an issue, we can answer it.
You're the go-to person.
We are the go-to people. So we create an entire ecosystem where we answer it. So something like the Be Beautiful portal, which is all about the latest fashion trends, the latest makeup tips, DIY videos, stuff like that. And I think it's the biggest beauty portal of its kind in India.
Okay.
It's something that befits our stature. I think it gets more than 40-45 million views a year. Or something that we have done with a portal called Bollywood Buzz, where all the time, every time that we take stars or put our brands into popular culture or put them into films or TV series, those are all the outtakes and behind the scenes, etc.
Right.
And you'll be surprised how popular that has been for us. So I think it's basically starting. We were always good at distribution on the ground. We were always good at traditional media. We're now starting to engage with the consumer in a big way on digital.
Would it be right for me to assume that the Be Beautiful piece is, let's say, you're attempting to make it like the baby center, but in the beauty space?
Yeah. I think that's a very good analogy, because like you're exactly right that you don't start necessarily with the brand there. You start with the consumer and her needs. And then you are able to answer them in the way that is most useful to her.
Right. But what's interesting with this model, given the fact that, we're largely moving to, a space where, your brands have to be really subtle in terms of its messaging, it can't be in your face, etc., etc. And, for a lot of people who actually subscribe to a baby center, and I know most mothers do and swear by it, not a lot of people know that it's owned by Johnson & Johnson, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's pretty strategic.
Yeah.
Are you attempting the same with Be Beautiful?
So it is not exactly the same, because if you see, the business model is a bit different. Something like a baby center can afford to be much more general because it's sustained interaction over a period of time. As a father, I go there a lot as well, a baby center. But I think what happens when you do this kind of thing in the beauty space is that consumers are looking for solutions there and then. And they're not very familiar with them. They sometimes don't know how to get their hair into a particular type of bun, and therefore which particular products, a shampoo, conditioner, what kind of a gel cream will kind of help them get that particular look.
Right,
so you need to be a bit more prescriptive.
If I had to now move to, let's say, what analysts seem to call, Lever's biggest failure, and you can of course correct me if you think I'm wrong or they're wrong, they seem to say that, while you have done so well in terms of building really big franchises, Levers has never been able to, maximize those franchises and really take it to a different level, or they've not been able to, make
create disproportionate premium for those franchises. Would you be in agreement with that?
Not at all. Firstly, paradoxically, a brand, the sharper it is, the more gaps it has. So we don't believe in just taking one brand and then flogging it into a million extensions, because then it dilutes its positioning. So when we play in the hair care market and we are leaders and winning share very handsomely, how are we doing that? By 4 very well-defined brands, each with a distinct positioning. And that's how we maximize the value of the market. So there's Tresemme, which gives you salon-style hair. There is Dove, which obviously gives, with its proposition of moisturization and anti-damage. There is Sunsilk, which is the girl's ally on her side. And there's Clinic Plus, which is about strength. And that pretty much occupies, all the big segments in the market. That is our philosophy. You can see it in cleansing. You can see it, we play with multiple brands. We really maximize on the depth. We don't extend too much into various categories. Like a brand does not play across 10 categories just for the sake of it.
Right, right. But if I talk to you specifically about Fair and Lovely, even if you look at the Fair and Lovely advertising, that advertising has changed its tone heavily. So from earlier, your proposition saying that, you'll get married or you'll get a better groom or whatever, or you just become fairer. I mean, you're trying to, you've softened that proposition in terms of, at least it still says it'll make you fairer, but I mean it's still softer. Given the fact that today we're in a society that's fast to talk and fast to comment, do you think this proposition should remain the same going forward, or do you think it's lived its life and maybe it's time to change the proposition of Fair and Lovely?
No, I think that's a good question. If you look at the secret of why these Unilever brands have done so well, is because we have been very, very consistent on the core.
And your competition has been highly slow.
I'll let you be the judge of that. But we have been consistent. And I think the challenge is that as you're consistent, how are you still aspirational? Because what you're saying is that people might get tired of the imagery of the brand and therefore move to other things. And I think that's something, whether it's Fair and Lovely, whether it's Clinic Plus, whether it's Vaseline, whether it's Close Up, you look at all these brands which have a big heritage, the way forward is to be consistent on their core and yet keep doing stuff which keeps them aspirational and in the news. Keep doing new innovation. What people forget is that when one of these brands like a Fair and Lovely or a Pond's goes to a user, to its core user, say in a small town in India, that woman keeps that jar or that tube on her TV set in the drawing room. There are not too many luxury brands in the world where a consumer would keep that jar in the drawing room. That's how much she is proud of it. So I think if we handle these brands also as the premium luxuries that they are for that consumer, you will get a very different kind of marketing. And I think what you're seeing is that evolution, because this is how the consumer is moving and we're moving along with her. But that doesn't mean that we'll ever dilute the core.
Another thing I want to talk to you about is loyalty in the personal space. Okay, so while of course you being a Lever's employee will think all your products are stars, right? When I go into, let's say, to shop, right? I'm going to look at different things, new products, pricing, stuff that is written in terms of what it does for your skin, hair, etc. Right? And every time I go in, I'm actually willing to experiment. So how do you build loyalty in a category that lends itself to experiments?
I think it's one of the two big challenges.
Okay.
So I think you're right, getting loyalty is there, but I think the other big challenge we face is to get trials, because getting someone in our business to try your product is actually 70% of the battle won, because your products are going to do well. We've done the testing, we've checked them for superiority against competition. But in this entire clutter of brands in the shelf, lots of advertising, how do you get people to believe in a proposition and go for it? And that's why your brands need to be really differentiated.
On that note, thank you so much, Samir. This was truly delightful.
Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure.